Today is Thursday, Parashat Behaalotecha. Parashah of this week has these two verses that seem to be not in their right place. It speaks about when the ark would set out to travel, and Moshe would say, "Arise, Hashem, and let your enemies be scattered, and those who hate you flee before you." Ubnucho Yomar, and when the ark would rest, he would say, Shuva Hashem rivavot alfei Israel, repose Hashem among the thousand myriads of the thousands of Israel. But these two verses seem to be not in their place. They're not connected to what came before or what came after. And Rashi points out these are here in order to make a separation, and even they have these letter nun, sort of like upside down, before the two verses and after the two verses, as if it was in between parentheses. And Rashi says the reason for these two psukim here is to separate between one bad thing to another bad thing, to make a break between like one trouble and the next trouble. Well, the next trouble after these two verses is Vaya'am kemit onenim. The people wanted to complain. They were complaining. They started saying, complaining about all sorts of things. They wanted to have certain types of food. They missed the food that they ate in Egypt. They're complaining about the manna that they get every day. So the complaint after the two verses is clear that's trouble. But when you look at the verses before, it's very hard to see what trouble could it be that Rashi was referring to. Actually, the pasuk there that comes just before, it says, "Vayis'u mehar Hashem derech sheloshet yamim." They traveled from the mountain of Hashem. So they needed to travel because after they received the Torah on Mount Sinai, and now they're on their way to Eretz Israel, they had to travel to keep on their way to reach the land of Israel. So what could be so negative about the fact that they traveled from Hashem, from the mountain of Hashem? And our sages explain in the Talmud, Vais'u me'ar Hashem, it means they traveled with, it hints the fact that they traveled away from Hashem. The attitude with which they left Mount Sinai was an attitude of like sometimes kids when they finish school. They can't wait to be already out of school, and they want to just, sometimes they even count the days, how many days to vacation. And when they go on vacation, they're so happy to finally go on vacation. Their attitude was wrong. They had just received the Torah on Mount Sinai. It was a very important event in the history of the Jewish people, in the history of the world. To leave such a place, they should have felt maybe a feeling of sorry to leave this incredibly important place. But yet, they left with a feeling of, it's about time, let's just leave and go. And that, the attitude is what was wrong. By contrast, we find earlier in the Parashah, when there were people who were ritually impure and could not partake of the sacrifice of Passover, Korban Pesach, on the night of Pesach, because that was, the second year after they left Egypt, and they couldn't partake because they were ritually impure. They were exempt from eating from the Korban Pesach. But they came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Lama nigara? Why should we be missing from this mitzvah of eating from Korban Pesach? They felt sorry about being exempt. There are sometimes people, when they're exempt from a certain mitzvah, they say, okay, exempt, that's fine. Because they felt sorry. And they came there to Moshe Rabbeinu and says, we feel like we're lacking something that we would like to have done. And that's when Hashem, after Moshe asked, what should we do? Hashem tell him, in a situation like this, they're given a second chance on the 14th of Iyar, which is a month afterwards, to do the Korban Pesach on what is called Pesach Sheni. And it teaches us an important lesson that if you ever are exempt from mitzvah, doesn't mean that you should rejoice that you're exempt from it. Like in this case of the people who could not partake of the Korban Pesach, they felt sorry. And that's a contrast to those who, when they left Mount Sinai, they were sort of joyed to finally leave the place of Har Sinai. And that's why it is considered as if it was a situation of trouble. And that's why the two verses came in the middle between two situations of trouble to separate between the two, as Rashi points out. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.